Are you running ads online but your ads are not profitable? Chances are that you are successfully able to get sales, but your return on investment or your return on ad spend is very, very low. And you're dissatisfied with the same and you're looking for simple solutions so that you can get more returns and obviously scale your ad campaigns. If that is you, then watch this video till the end because I'll be actually showing you some strategic hacks which you can actually apply in order to actually maximize your performance. And do note, some of these hacks are very unconventional and not even related to your ads manager, so pay attention and watch till the end. So hack number one that you can use, which is very, very obvious, is simply increase the price of whatever that you're doing or selling. Now, what happens is if you have to fundamentally understand all these platforms, whether it's Google or Facebook, when these platforms initially launched, there were a lot less companies who were willing to actually pay these companies a lot of money to run ads on their campaigns. In fact, online marketing wasn't even popular back in the days. People used to resort to traditional media like newspaper, radio ads, and whatnot. But as the demand for these platforms actually grew, guess what? More and more people started entering, and more brands started advertising online. Now think about this. If initially when these companies started, only small startups used to run ads on these platforms. But now you would see billion-dollar companies like Coca-Cola and whatnot who are also using these platforms to advertise their products or services. Now the question is, when you're competing with such big brands, it becomes very tedious for small business owners like you and I to actually really scale. Therefore, you must understand a simple concept of economics, which is supply, demand. Okay, so if supply is limited, right, then and the demand is high, right, the price actually goes high, right? Now, initially, the demand on these platforms was very, very low, and supply was very, very high, right? And that's why it was very cheap, right, to actually advertise on these platforms. But now the demand has become increasingly high because, as I said, all these big organizations also want to run ads on these platforms. But the supply is still limited because, see, humans are to humans. Like, they can't just suddenly produce billion more human beings to start using these platforms. So even though the more users are joining this platform, but not at the same rate that they used to earlier, right? So you must understand a simple thing, that you can't do much about the rising cost of these platforms. In fact, these costs will keep on going higher and higher and higher, more higher than you can imagine. So if you cannot control the cost, then what do you have control over? You have control over the price of whatever you are selling, right? So simply, let's suppose you used to spend 100 rupees and maybe you used to sell something for 300 rupees and you used to make a 3x return, right? Now let's suppose the cost has increased to 200 rupees and you are still making the mistake of selling something for 300 rupees. You are doing something wrong. What you should now aim towards doing is maybe increasing the price of whatever you are selling to 600 bucks. Now, how do you go about doing that? Very simple. You can target a much more qualified audience who actually has the buying power to actually pay you whatever you're selling. You can improve the quality of whatever you're offering so that you can, of course, justify the pricing. And of course, you could work on your branding so that there is no reason to justify why exactly you're charging high. Because think about it, does Mercedes or Rolls-Royce really need to justify why they are worth what they are worth? No, they don't, right? So simple hack, just increase your pricing and this will automatically take care of most of your problems. And this is something that you could always do. Now, since I am more into consulting, coaching and whatnot, in India, what I recommend to most people is to at least begin by pricing their advice or services at least at a minimum price point of 35,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees. Right now, this is something that I actually began with 30,000 rupees. So this was back in 2018-19, right? Now it's a lot, even like you should probably consider at least a minimum benchmark of 35,000 to 40,000. And if you're selling abroad, the minimum price point I would recommend would be $3,000 to $3,500. For any advice or services that you're selling, because this will automatically take care of a lot of these costs. So that is one hack that you can definitely use in order to just beat these rising ad costs. The next thing that you can work on is improving your ad performance. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, simply, initially what used to happen is, and a lot of people might have actually thought about doing this, maybe chances are that you are targeting a very specific audience group. Okay, let's suppose you are running some sort of agency and you are targeting only solar companies who are interested in buying your advice and services. Now, when you try to run ads and try to get these people as a client, this becomes very, very specific, right? Which is good if you're starting out. But if you have already spent a lot of money on ads and you've already scaled to the maximum level, then it's probably time to actually start expanding and start thinking, hey, if I'm only targeting solar companies, are there more other organizations or similar organizations or other businesses that I can sell to who can also benefit from my advice and services? That is something that you can think. Or chances are that you are maybe selling too general, because of which, even though the cost per lead might be pretty low, or even the cost might be less, your conversions might be also very, very less, because you're trying to reach almost every Tom, Dick and Harry. So maybe you are selling to some sort of course to the entire audience, like, I help all working professionals to basically quit their jobs and whatnot. And because of which now you are attracting very low quality general leads. And what you can now consider doing is probably be more specific, where you can consider maybe only targeting, let's suppose Java developers to land a high paying job or something like that, right? So the point is, if you're too specific, consider going a little bit broader. If you're too general, consider being a little bit more specific, so that you can get hyper targeted leads. And of course, your quality would be a lot better. So the next thing that you can consider doing is go about creating better hooks and better opportunities. Now, this again, I would put it under improving your ad performance level only. Now, for example, think about the fact that, are you in a saturated market or are you in a non-saturated market? For example, back in the days when I started my own business, the concept that was really, really new in India was the word high ticket. Okay, so I decided to actually really take this word and really scale it to the next level. So anytime anyone thinks high ticket, they just remember usability, and that results in conversions. But now, in today's time, if you start to use this word high ticket in your advertisements, automatically you will start failing, because every Tom, Dick and Harry you can see is trying to actually use this. So one of my clients was actually struggling with this kind of situation before. So I told him that, hey, rather than just using high ticket and trying to go into the saturated market, maybe for coaches, consultants, or whatnot, what you can consider doing is targeting maybe a non-saturated market, where you could probably consider being a YouTube consultant to get high ticket clients, right? So rather than just saying, oh, I will help everybody get high ticket clients and I will help you get high ticket clients using some generic strategy, now you have introduced a new opportunity, like let's suppose YouTube, which would allow you to actually stand out and be different, and also be part of a non-saturated opportunity. For example, one of my clients, rather than saying high ticket, he said, hey, I will help you get high ticket clients using YouTube organic content without actually spending on ads, which is a pretty good opportunity. And this is working really, really well for him. The final few recommendations I can give to you is, in today's time, what is working really well are image ads, right? So the more images you can test, the better it would be. Earlier, video ads used to perform a lot better, but I think these days people just have their attention span almost to zero, that they don't even have time to actually see a full video. So what they prefer is just give me some image with some text on it and tell me what exactly you do and get to the point faster. And I've noticed these image ads to work really well. Another ad concept that is working really well for us is called as story ads. So these are, again, under 30-second ads. When you try them out, these are outperforming even longer videos, which are 1-2 minute long. So these two formats in particular are working a lot better. The final tip that I can give you, which will allow you to improve your ad performance, is just to stand out. Now, if you want a live example of what do I mean by standing out, just go to my YouTube channel or click the link in the description and see this video that we created where I'm basically portraying to be Ranbir Kapoor in this animal movie, and we are just having this skit where we are trying to hit the pain points of business owners who are struggling to actually generate leads. Now, think about this. How many people do you know who use the movie Animal as a reference point to target business owners to actually help them solve the problem of getting high ticket clients? You can't think of anyone other than just like us who did that. So how can you also be creative when it comes to probably your own marketing campaigns, your own ads that you want to run? How can you also think about doing things which nobody else is doing, and also making yourself stand out? Because I remember a lot of my clients telling me, Rohan, the reason why we bought from you because you've been using the same system since the last 6 years, and you have because of your creative ads, we have been able to like sort of resonate with you, and this allowed us to also build a brand very well. And if you know somebody else who also does this very well, would be a company like Cred. If you've seen their ads, especially that Rahul David one, that was my favorite one. But Cred also built their credibility by obviously launching creative ads, and that allowed them to stand out from a very crowded marketplace, right? So you can also try that hack out. The more creative you are, the more you will stand out from rest of the crowd. The third strategy that you can consider doing would be using something called as outbound setters, right? Now, what happens is, the more we are entering this world of AI, automation, content creation, and whatnot, human beings are now becoming jaded to technology. And what they now require more than ever is human touch. They want that one to one connection from somebody who could really, really understand them. And just to give you an example, think about a company like LiveSpace, which is an interior design firm. Now, when they started out, it was more like they were trying to provide an experience where it was more like, hey, humans, here's our artificial AI model, you can use it. And basically, it's more of a do it yourself kind of model where you will be able to figure out how to design your home and the interiors of the same, and then you'll be able to purchase it. And guess what? The conversions of that website were extremely low back then. The moment LiveSpace decided to change their business model, where they were like, hey, client, don't worry about anything. We have our interior designers, we have our team. You just come, we'll create the strategy, we'll create the design for you, we'll help you select the interiors, and we'll sort of do it more in a done for you format. Guess what? The conversions of that company automatically increase. So this basically proves that in India, people crave more for human touch, right? And this means what a lot of times you need is, even though somebody might enter your marketing system, they might give you their name and email address, what they really require is a human being to really get in touch with them and really guide them through the next steps of whatever your process might be. So as soon as a lead actually enters your system, if within the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, you can get some human being to actually call them and just be like, hey, first name, I noticed that you actually signed up for a training on how to get high ticket clients by Rohan Dhawan, and I noticed that you actually did not move to the next step. I wanted to know and personally understand your problems and give you a solution which is best customized to you. Do you have the next 5 to 10 minutes? Guess what? The moment you do that and incorporate that, your conversion rate automatically increases, because all those leads who were just lying in your system and not taking any kind of action because you were trying to use all those fancy technologies, systems, and automations, guess what? This human being would be able to actually allow you to bridge that gap and get more bang for your buck. The next thing that you can consider doing in today's time is also consider doing content marketing. Now, there was a recent study done by Google where it basically stated before somebody actually ends up buying your advice or service or product or whatever you're selling, somebody needs to consume at least around 8 hours of your content, or at least get 7 to 8 touch points from you. And since I learned about this, my mind was really in shock, Because when I learned that, and when I also started noticing that big entrepreneurs who are running such giant organizations are now also spending their time to create content, this is when I realized how important this entire thing is, and how you need content on the internet to be able to nurture your leads, to give them more value, to bring them more into their system, because these people are already using all these platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. And if you can actually be there, you can also be there and be omnipresent. Guess what? Your brand value increases, your prestige value increases, and the likelihood of them actually buying from you also increases. And a real-time example, if you want to see a person who actually did this in person, would be someone like Alex Hormozi. Even though he runs a very successful business and invests in a lot of startups, he wanted a medium to be able to reach out to more people, build more trust, because he was looking for people who would actually end up giving a percentage of equity to him. And why would somebody want to do that if they don't trust Alex in the first place? So what he decided to do, he decided to post a lot of content, build a lot of goodwill, build a lot of credibility, and share a lot of value with a lot of people. Through that trust, he was able to actually get a lot of top founders to actually, give equity to Alex, which he wouldn't have been able to achieve if he wouldn't have had the kind of following that he does right now. And if you want to see someone similar in India doing the same, would be someone like Nikhil Kamath. He is a billionaire. He doesn't need views or any of that stuff. But still, he decided to actually put himself out there, create podcasts, create reels and whatnot in order to actually build his personal brand, which directly or indirectly is also impacting the sales of Zerodha, and of course, allowing him to add another billion to his portfolio, right? So definitely, if you actually pair content marketing with your ads, guess what? The performance of your ads will increase, because somebody who might click on your ad may not buy immediately, but when they actually click on your ad and maybe they go to YouTube and see your content over there, guess what? They might be in a position to actually buy from you. So think about that. The last tip that I could actually give to you if you want to improve the performance of your ads would be consider adding a back-end product. So let's suppose, or this could also include, you having upsells, cross sells, and basically improving the lifetime value of your customer. Now, let's suppose you spend 100 rupees on ads to acquire a customer. Okay, this customer probably pays you 150 rupees or 200 rupees. Now, we have already discussed the fact that you should consider raising prices, but let's suppose you are like, okay, Rohan, this is the max I can go for whatever XYZ reason. Now you are at a 2x, right? Now what do? Well, very simple. What you can do is, let's suppose, this person actually ended up buying your first product, right? You can then present them an opportunity to maybe buy another product. For example, this is what Apple does really well. Maybe you bought an iPhone, right? And what do you need to actually listen to music on an iPhone? An AirPod. An AirPod actually becomes a cross sell. So now, let's suppose you've added 50 bucks more to this sale. So now it's worth 250 rupees, the lifetime value of that customer. Now, let's suppose to this person, they bought an iPhone, but they're like, hey, now you should also use a computer so that your daily, usage increases and you are much more productive, because Macs are awesome, right? So now this person ends up buying another product, and maybe the lifetime value of this person becomes 400 rupees. So now, despite spending just 100 bucks, you are now able to get 400 rupees out of this customer eventually. And think about this. I was just, reading my stats. I went to this plugin or something, and I saw that on Zomato, in the last 3 to 4 months, I've spent upwards of 80,000 rupees. 80,000 rupees, right? Now, this is so weird, because Zomato probably, like when they first acquired me as a customer, they might have paid or spent upwards of 2,000, 3,000 rupees, let's suppose, to show me ads and maybe sign me as a customer. And what would I have done? I would have opened their app once and maybe purchased an order or food for 500 bucks. So technically, Zomato went on a loss to acquire me as a customer. But over time, I loved their services so much that I ended up spending 80,000 rupees. So this means even though Zomato paid 1,500 rupees to acquire me as a customer and go in a loss, in the long term, they ended up making 80,000 rupees from me. And look at the return on ad spend. That is crazy, right? And that is what you should also start thinking when it comes to probably increasing the performance of your ads. So here are 5 hacks which have nothing to do with the ads manager, and most people are actually sitting and playing with their lookalike audiences, their targeting options and pixel, funnel, tech, and all that crap. But honestly, when you start looking at your business holistically and you move just from that ads manager and you think about all these things that you can actually consider, guess what? You will be able to actually make your ads profitable. And this is the reason why I'm able to get 5, 10, 20x as well sometimes on my ad campaigns, which my competitors are not able to do. And this is the reason why they have to shut down ads a lot faster. And we have the opportunity and the luxury to run our ads since the last 6 years consistently without stopping it even for a single day. So the question is, amongst these 5 hacks, which one do you plan on applying to improve the performance of your ad campaigns? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure to share it with a friend or a family member who's also suffering from the problem of not having profitable ad campaigns. Share it with them, and I'll see you in the next video. Rohan Dhawan here. Bye-bye.